Welcome to today's Explainer. When we normally hear the phrase quantum computing, our brains immediately jump to some distant sci-fi utopia, right? We picture supercomputers discovering miracle medicines or unlocking the secrets of the universe. But there is a very real shadow side to this rapidly advancing tech, and it represents an absolutely crucial, urgent cybersecurity crisis that's unfolding right now, today, on the very networks you and I use every single day. This isn't just a problem for the next generation to figure out. This is a ticking clock. And the countdown? Well, it's already begun. I want you to picture a classic Hollywood heist movie. The criminals have bypassed all the alarms, snuck right into the vault, and hauled away millions of completely locked, impenetrable titanium safes. Now, they don't actually have the master key to open these safes today, but here's the absolutely terrifying part. They don't care. They know the master key is currently being built in a laboratory, so they're just stashing the safes in a massive warehouse and waiting. It begs the question. What if the greatest cyber heist in history has already happened, and the thieves are simply waiting to read the stolen data? Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the invisible data heist. To really wrap our heads around this crisis, we have to look at a concept defined by Palo Alto Networks called Harvest Now, Decrypt Later, or HNDL for short. This is a cyber attack model that completely flips the script on how we think about data security. Right now, attackers are actively scooping up vast amounts of our encrypted information, and they're doing it using everyday, familiar methods. We're talking about intercepting standard network traffic, exploiting endpoints, or quietly siphoning data from compromised servers. They know perfectly well they can't break the encryption today, but they're harvesting those locked boxes now, stockpiling them, and just waiting for tomorrow's technology to catch up. Here's exactly how this two-part process goes down. Step 1, which is happening as we speak, steal and securely store the encrypted data. Step 2? Well, that just requires a little patience. The attackers wait until quantum computers are mature enough to run something called Shor's algorithm. Think of Shor's algorithm as that master key we were just talking about. Once that algorithm is viable on real quantum hardware, all of that stolen data, stuff that was entirely secure when it was taken, suddenly becomes completely readable in plain text. We're talking financial records, classified state communications, top-tier intellectual property, and deeply personal medical data. All of it. Just laid completely bare.
Moving right along to Section 2, Harvesting in Plain Sight.
We really have to look at the actions of nation-state perpetrators here. According to Key Factor, there's a shockingly clear pattern of massive, unexplained data detours happening on the global internet. Back in 2016, huge amounts of Canadian internet traffic meant for South Korea was mysteriously rerouted through China. In 2019, we saw a similar massive incident with European mobile phone traffic. And then in 2020, data from the biggest players on Earth, Google, Amazon, Facebook, plus over 200 other distinct networks, was inexplicably redirected through Russia. Security experts universally agree. These aren't accidents. They aren't routing glitches. And this brilliantly illustrates the global harvesting infrastructure that is actively operating right in plain sight. They are literally scooping up the encrypted data as it flows past. Which brings us to Section 3, the shrinking countdown. So the entire security world relies on these massive digital safes, like RSA-2048 encryption. Back in 2019, experts kind of felt like we had plenty of breathing room to protect them. Google researchers estimated it would take roughly 20 million qubits, which is the basic processing unit of a quantum computer, just to break our standard encryption. Now, 20 million is a massive number. It felt like this comfortably distant, futuristic horizon. Let's move to and see how this builds. Because just a few years later, in a 2025 paper, that estimate was totally obliterated. Researchers slashed the requirement down from 20 million to just under 1 million qubits. That's a 20-fold drop. And the truly crazy part? This wasn't because someone invented magical new quantum hardware. This massive leap was achieved through software optimization alone. They literally just found a smarter, much more efficient way to run the math using the hardware we already envisioned. And the floor just keeps dropping. A February 2026 preprint from NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, slashed the estimate even further. They now estimate it will take under 100,000 physical qubits to break our encryption. Think about that trajectory, from 20 million to 1 million to under 100,000 in just a handful of years. The clock isn't just ticking, it's spinning. The timeline for a viable quantum attack is collapsing way, way faster than anyone in the industry ever predicted. All right, let's take a deep breath and look at Section 4, the readiness gap. With a threat this massive and a timeline shrinking this incredibly fast, you'd probably expect a unified, frantic global rush to upgrade our defenses, right? Well, there's a terrifying disconnect. In a massive 2025 survey by ISACA and NIST, they talked to over 2,600 security professionals. These are the people whose entire job is keeping data safe. The results were just staggering. Only a tiny 5% sliver of the organizations surveyed actually have a defined quantum strategy in place. Let that sink in for a second. 95% of organizations are essentially standing right in the path of a tidal wave without even a basic plan on how to swim. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the profound cognitive dissonance it reveals. It's not like these professionals are clueless about the threat. Actually, that exact same survey found that 62% of these security pros are highly concerned that quantum computing will completely compromise today's encryption. They know for a fact the threat is real. They're terrified of it, and yet only 5% have been given the resources or the actual mandate to build a strategy to stop it. And we need to be crystal clear about who the actual victims are here. It's not just big tech companies. According to an extensive ResearchGate analysis looking at over 100 primary sources, the scale of vulnerability is basically total. When analyzing the Harvest Now, Decrypt Later attack model, they found that between 98 and 100% of healthcare records currently encrypted are at risk of retroactive decryption. For government classified data, it's 95 to 100%. Because remember, your medical history or a classified state secret, it doesn't just magically become public information after 5 years. These are lifelong secrets, currently sitting in those stolen, locked digital safes, just waiting for the quantum key. Which leads us to our final section, too late by 2030. This is the ultimate wake-up call. Upgrading global encryption standards is a wildly complex process that takes years to roll out across huge networks. The world's leading tech institutions know this, and they certainly aren't waiting around. According to PR Newswire, back in February of 2026, Google officially issued a call for urgent preparation. So, the crucial point is, they are ringing the alarm bells right now. They're telling the business world, governments, and non-technical leaders everywhere that this is absolutely no longer a future theoretical problem. It's a current, pressing operational crisis. And to put an absolute point on it, we have to look at the warning from the Boston Consulting Group. Their assessment is just chillingly clear. Starting in 2030 will already be too late. If you wait for a fully mature, master key quantum computer to be announced on the evening news before you start upgrading your encryption, you have completely lost the game. The data you're encrypting with outdated methods in 2027, 2028, and 2029, it will have already been harvested. It's already gone. I really urge you to share this explainer with the non-technical leaders in your world who absolutely need to understand this threat, because it leaves us with the single most important question you can ask your security teams and your board of directors today. The safes have already been stolen. The lockpick is being built as we speak. If starting in 2030 is too late, what is your organization doing right now?